Hello and welcome to In Search of Purpose with Sal Hanvey. Hi, I'm Sal Hanvey, In Search of Purpose. Here are my podcasts, and tonight I have the very great pleasure of introducing Paddy Anderson. Hi, Paddy.
Hello, Sal. How you doing?
I am fine, thank you. Tell me a bit about what you're at home today.
I'm in lockdown like everybody.
Yeah.
And lockdown, I suppose I'm fortunate. I'm one of those people whose lives hasn't changed massively, apart from I'm not out gigging as I would normally be, which I'm missing. But I spend a lot of hours every day sitting in my little room with this thing, wrestling with this thing. And I'm still doing that. But I'm okay. I'm cooking a lot, getting fatter like everybody. Doing a bit of bacon and cooking, foraging this morning out in Beaver Forest.
Beautiful.
I know it was yesterday for wild garlic.
Oh, I was.
I believe you've been dabbling yourself with a bit of wild garlic pesto.
I have. Yeah, I actually planted some in the garden here a couple of years ago, and last year it was a very sad looking yield. But this year I'm very pleased to say that I got a lot out of it and harvested it the other day, and yes, made a pesto. And then I seen online that you were doing the same and you had a pesto, wild garlic pesto, and I thought, I've done a wild garlic pesto, and I was wondering whether you had basil in it, because I actually don't put basil in mine. Do you?
I didn't have basil, and I also didn't consider mixing basil with garlic, with wild garlic. How was it?
No, I didn't use basil.
Oh, you didn't? You didn't?
No,
okay.
I didn't have any. I actually did wild garlic, giving away my recipes here now. Lemon juice, lemon zest, parmesan or a hard cheese, salt, pepper, olive oil, and toasted walnuts.
Look at you. That's a souped up version of mine. I had walnuts non-toasted and goat's cheese, hard goat's cheese.
Oh yeah.
Which was good. It was good, yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. And no lemon or no olive oil, no salt and pepper?
Olive oil, good olive oil.
Yeah.
No lemon. No lemon.
Lemon, that's
a little bit of salt. Lemon good?
Get the lemon in and get the lemon zest in. It is just another level. Oh yeah, it's so good. And it preserves it. If you put the lemon in and then you put it in the fridge, it'll last 2 or 3 days longer because lemon's a preserve.
There you are.
Yeah, so it'll taste even nicer in a couple of days. So
that'll work.
Yeah, so I love this time of year for the foraging. I was picking some nettle and I made some nettle and garlic soup, and then I did some nettle dried for teas, and I had that with some green tea earlier. It was so yummy. It's these little things that I would do every year, but I'm sort of always scheduling them into my routine rather than it just being something to enjoy. And I can say with, this horrible COVID-19 situation, obviously it's terrible what's going on, but there is little silver linings with regards to the times that you can kind of get that you wouldn't necessarily have allowed yourself in the past.
Definitely.
So Paddy, we could talk about foraging all day. That's very clear. Tell us a bit about what brings you, brings you back to Belfast. You went over, well, actually, we'll go back first. First of all, where did you grow up, first of all? Tell us.
I grew up mostly in the Killinchy area of County Down. And I did a degree in Edinburgh.
In what?
Sorry?
In what?
Oh, my first degree was in French and English literature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very useful, very vocational, not. But the French got me to France, which was great. I lived in France for a year as part of the degree, and that got me into cooking, I suppose, which was good, and also into some French music and that type of stuff. At that point, I was more of a piano player than a guitar player. I could strum some chords and accompany myself singing, but I wasn't a guitarist by any stretch of the imagination. I was more of a piano player. But I ended up moving around so much that the guitar started to take center stage for me. After Edinburgh and France, what happened then? I lived in South America for a year in Ecuador, teaching English and
So your degree,
learning.
did your degree took you there and helped you?
It did, absolutely. Learning languages is great, I have to say. I was being a bit dismissive there of the arts degree, but actually languages has really opened doors for me, and I would encourage anybody to learn languages and travel. Learning Spanish. I did Spanish at school, and it was the Spanish that really got me interested in Spanish culture, and got eventually onto the flamenco guitar, which is, as you know, is a big part of my life now. So you never know. Languages can take you in many directions.
Yeah, they can. And then you left there and then you came back home, isn't that right? And that's when we met.
Yes, that's right. I've been home for a while now. I got back in 2007.
Gosh, I don't know where the time goes. So 2007, it's now 2020. So we met 13 years ago.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and do you want to just recollect how that happened?
Well, these were sort of my wilderness years, trying to kind of reinsert myself back into my indigenous culture and society. And what age would I have been then? I'm 40, nearly 45 now, so it would have been 32. Mm-hmm. Living back home with my parents after 14 years away, very strange, sort of slightly emotionally unhinged, and sort of ended up, because my folks live in Calinchi, ended up going into Killalay quite a bit, to the session in the Dufferin Arms.
Yes, that's exactly
that was my sort of outlet at that time. I think that's where I ran into you, isn't it?
It is, yeah, exactly. It was the Dufferin Arms, and we were organising some gigs and bits and pieces, and we asked you to come and play. That's what it was. And then, yeah, totally blown away from this day forward. And, it's what you do in Northern Ireland, because obviously some people will know you, but people who are watching this who want to know a bit more about what it is that you do. I mean, you're quite a delight and a rarity, in the sense that you play in music in Northern Ireland, flamenco and Portuguese music, and isn't that right? And just different types of.
Yeah, I mean, I've really focused on flamenco the last 10 years or so. I also play Latin music, although I wouldn't really say I'm a Latin guitarist. I kind of make my flamenco guitar playing fit in with Latin music. That's in the Los Dramáticos project. I haven't got on to Portuguese music yet, but it is stunning.
Yes, that's your next project.
That's the next project, yeah.
No, it's just the flamenco stuff. I mean, I've seen you many, many times, Los Dramáticos, and otherwise, we've actually also played a gig together recently.
We have indeed, yeah.
I haven't played in a very long time, and then was asked to do a gig up in Dungiven at the Flax Mill, and it was just inspired. I had such a lovely time playing with you. You played the guitar accompaniment, and I sang, played the odd bit of guitar. We were outside in an absolute storm in a field with hay bales and a gig rig that was made up, and it was brilliant crack. Really, really enjoyed it, and it's the sort of thing that I would only ever do every now and again. But I think Herman's trying to get us back in September, but who knows? It may not even happen under the circumstances. This is the problem.
So if anybody can make it happen, those guys can, but maybe not this year.
Exactly, I know. So yeah, I just want to talk a wee bit about what inspired you to learn the guitar in the area that you did. Obviously it was, it's massively in you. You can just tell, like, without blowing your trumpet, you're so talented in that area of playing. It's just so natural to you. If you close your eyes and just listen to you singing and playing, it sounds like you're otherworldly, that you're not from a man from Calinchi, County Down, Northern Ireland, called Paddy, so that's fascinating to many people, hence why, you get good crowds, you're definitely like specialist niche, and it's very, very unique to have someone like you from here playing that music here.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, it's very kind of you to say so, Sal, and it's good to hear that. It sounds natural. It's not actually natural at all, to be honest. It's basically a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. You know, I don't think I'm particularly natural or talented more than anybody else in that area. I'm a bit obsessive. I definitely love it. I love what I'm doing, and you know, when I discovered flamenco guitar, it was one of those moments. It was at that point in my life when I was after something. You know, I had my sort of musical, how would you say, my musical temperament. It fits very well with my musical temperament, I think, because first of all, I love languages and culture, and I love Spanish culture. Secondly, I like technical work on the instrument. You know, I like studying and practicing and learning, sort of deciphering something which at the start sounds completely incomprehensible, both musically and
Technically,
lyrically, if you like.
yeah.
Especially musically. You know, when you first hear flamenco guitar, if you're a guitarist and you're at that point in your life to go, oh my God, what's that? That's amazing. I have no idea what I'm listening to. I don't understand the rhythms. I don't understand the harmonies. I don't understand how the voice is fitting with the guitar. And I just sort of plunged in there, not thinking that I would ever try and tackle this stuff seriously. And bit by bit, just sort of got more and more sucked into it. You know, I did, when I was younger, I did classical piano.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there were many aspects of the classical world that I was kind of resistant to. The very sort of intellectual side of it, I struggled with, you know, notation, sight reading, and theory. And I'm trying to get back into it now, actually. You know, in many ways, I wish I had, but it was something that I didn't naturally gel with. However, I did gel with the technical demands of it. And you know, flamenco music, it has its roots in folk music, Spanish folk music, but really, in terms of the way it's expressed now, it's gone way beyond. It's gone way beyond sort of what you would classically think of as folk music, i.e., something that anybody can do to a pretty high standard with very little training.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're looking at the professional world of flamenco music, really, in terms of its rigor and demands, in terms of what you need to do to get enough knowledge and technical ability to be able to do it, it's a big, big commitment in terms of your own time and effort. And I think just because of where I was at that point in my life and where I have been recently, the last 10 years, I was able to commit to a certain degree. And I always had a day job, a part-time day job up until about 3 years ago, when I was able to go full-time on the guitar.
That's right. That was a big leap of faith that you took, you know, and
Yeah.
it's obviously paying off. And you had a tour there at the end of last year, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, you know, it's difficult financially. And it's, you know, you're comfortable. I'm still getting used to kind of psychologically what it is to be a freelance musician, knowing that, you know, at some point I'm going to get in money. Sometimes I'm not going to get in money. Obviously, the situation we're in at the moment is difficult. You know, the gigs have stopped. I'm applying for universal credit. I'm hoping to benefit from the government self-employed scheme where we get 80% of our earnings over a certain length of time.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm also thinking of, you know, other avenues for music, you know, classes, teaching more. I already teach a bit,
Yeah,
but
because
teaching more.
you do teach, and you know, if say for example, I was sitting, I mean, you and I have sat together and we've worked out songs, but we could easily be doing that right now. So that's one thing that you could be doing.
It is, and all those years of English teaching as my second job means that I've got the musical skills and the teaching skills. So it's something I'm quite comfortable with is teaching. Also, I'm quite keen to help people with their technique in general, actually, because it's something I've been looking at very closely the last couple of years. And it's something that I haven't benefited a huge amount from in teaching. I've had from teachers in Spain. I mean, I'm mostly self-taught, but I have taken some classes, and I found that because of the specifics of learning flamenco, for example, most of the players in Spain, the good ones,
Yeah.
even the not so good ones, have learned as children.
Okay. Just themselves, not technically in the sense of reading manuscript.
Well, flamenco isn't written down. Flamenco music isn't generally written down anyway. It's an oral tradition. And
Really?
most kids learn from their uncle or their father or their
Oh,
auntie or their mother.
that's amazing. I didn't
Singing
realize
or the
that.
playing. So when I came to learning from those people, it was of limited use to me. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't useful. It was useful, but it was of limited use because when you learn something as a child, I think it's very different to learning it as an adult.
Mm.
When you learn something as a child, especially something as technical as that, I think you benefit from a kind of a master pupil relationship, kind of a military type thing. Do what I do what I say, keep doing it, do it a lot, and you'll get somewhere. Whereas I think when you come to something as an adult, as I did with flamenco, like in my late 20s, you have so many notions both psychologically and physiologically, that in order to get your hand around stuff, you have to tackle it yourself in a very concentrated, aware, playful way. You have to take responsibility from the start for your own progress, because nobody else can really help you with that. You can, maybe that's exaggerated. You can get a bit of help, but what I find that has helped me is really just, it's a bit like yoga on the guitar, very playful, but focused and aware, concentrated, committed work by yourself. And I feel that I may be able to help other people with that who are coming to it as adults.
Well, I suppose as well, when you're a child, you have no inhibitions, and the reflex actions are much more on a subconscious level, to the point where do not having any intentions or thought of what it is that you're trying to achieve. You're just being and doing a lot more, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And that's, I suppose, why I think they say that adults find it twice, if not three times more, roughly, more difficult to learn and longer to achieve than if you're grading from the age of 4.
Absolutely. I think that's true. But there are certain things I think you can do as an adult to almost bring yourself back to that place of opening your mind, being playful, trying not to have too many prejudices about what is right or what is wrong. I think that's, I think I certainly fell into the pitfall of having an assumption of the way I should be playing, and that assumption being wrong because it wasn't based on experience, my own experience. It was based on something somebody had said or something I saw or something that I perceived or misperceived. Kids don't do that. Kids just pick something up and say, right, how am I going to have fun with this? How am I going to make it work for me?
Yeah, exactly. It is. That's difficult. But once you actually get the hang of it as an adult starting later, I'm sure it's amazing. I mean, I know a couple of different musicians I'm thinking of who started late and didn't read manuscript, and they're sensational musicians. But I think as well, there's that whole first of all, I didn't realize about flamenco not really being written down in a manuscript. That was new for me. But there's that kind of always that war between, or conflict between, or attitude differences in people who are graded throughout their lives, playing very technical, playing very precise, And then folk music, obviously being very, not that the music that's manuscript isn't natural, but there's a natural flow that comes with folk music in all its different guises that, you and I know many people who play who wouldn't know grade from Get Out. And they're absolutely amazing session players, and some of the best in the world. Paul McCartney, he didn't read music. It's just a natural way to play, and a gifted way to play when you're not trained to read music. I know that people who read music are also very gifted, but it's a different type of a gift. And that's basically what I'm saying about yourself. I'm sure people are listening to this right now or watching this thinking, would he just play a song and let us see what he's talking about? I know I am. Was there any chance that you'd play a little song and give us a story behind it, Paddy?
Well, we've got the guitar here. What can I say? I'm not going to sing. I'll play something. So one of the things I suppose that attracted me to Andalusia, south of Spain, and flamenco is the incredible mix of cultures that exist there and have existed there for a long time. It's the Mediterranean, and the culture there is a real mix of European, North African, Middle Eastern, in terms of its architecture, in terms of its music, even in terms of its culture and people. I think that's what attracts me to, one of the things that attracts me to Andalusia and this music. And modern flamenco is even taking in, flamenco is already a mix of all those things. Mm-hmm. And in recent years, it's been taking in aspects of, a wider harmonic palette coming from jazz, more techniques coming from classical guitar. I think if you'd heard flamenco guitar 70, 80 years ago, you wouldn't have heard much tremolo or even not that many arpeggios. So it's one of those traditions that seems able to soak up a lot of different influences. So I wrote this tune called El Crisol, which is the melting pot, sort of in honor of that. So I'll play a section of it anyway. Don't want to bore you.
Oh no, you won't be boring.
After cold, but I'll do my best anyway. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can indeed, yes. If you want to just maybe move back a wee bit so that we can see you play.
See the guitar?
Yeah, just slightly back, just so we can see you play. It'd be lovely, because it'd be a shame not to see.
How's that?
Great.
Yeah?
Perfect. Wow, that was
Yeah.
that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you. So you've written that yourself. You composed that yourself.
Yes, that was a little bit. I didn't play it as I composed it that time, but
Even
it was
better.
close. It was close. There you are.
And what was the name of it again, Paddy?
El Crisol.
El Crisol.
Yeah.
And
I'll come closer.
yeah, so El Crisol, and it means what?
Melting pot.
Melting pot. Okay. So the melting pot, and what inspired you again to write that?
Just living in Andalusia in the south of Spain, and trying to soak up all the influences and cultures which are there. You know,
It
the whole
definitely.
world's a melting pot now. You know, even Belfast's a melting pot now. Thank
You're
goodness.
absolutely right. You're going to have to write
You
the
know?
Belfast version of the melting pot and see what you come up with.
Yeah.
That's what you should do.
Well, I'm influenced by music here as well. You know.
Like what?
Well, all the amazing musicians in Belfast that I, have the pleasure of hearing. It's all you try to soak it all up, don't you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing I'm really missing about not being able to go out. I had a gig, a tickets for Andy Irvine and Paul Brady, and I'm
Nice.
so excited to go. And it's been rescheduled to September with a big, massive question mark hanging over that now too. So, that's such a shame, but they're legends, and they weren't even meant to be playing again together because played in the 60s. So, together mostly and 70s. So it was going to be a real special one. So that's a real shame. But yeah, I mean, there are so many amazing musicians here. Can't wait to get out again and see gigs and see you play, and maybe we'll play again together. You never know down the line. But what would be your inspiration, apart from that? Like, what other music do you really like? Give me 3 favorite sort of songs or musicians that are sort of more prevalent for you.
Well, obviously, I listen to a lot of flamenco music, which probably wouldn't be massively familiar to most of the listeners. Paco de Lucia obviously is the great inspiration to all guitar players, certainly flamenco guitar players. So I listen to a lot of that. I listen to a lot of classical music. I really like solo classical piano. It's something I always come back to. I started on the piano, and if I'm thinking of what music to put on when I'm cooking, it's inevitably either well-tempered clavier by Bach, or Beethoven sonatas, or Chopin nocturnes, or Debussy preludes. It's generally, I like solo playing. I'm not, at this point in my life anyway, I find orchestral playing a little bit too much for my ears. I'm not sure why. I like listening to like violin sonatas, small groups, or preferably just one person playing, and especially piano. I do sometimes. I suppose we all, as artists, we sometimes wonder if we've taken a different path, and regretting, maybe not quite regretting, but
if you didn't do what you do now, what would that path have been?
If I'd had more, I think if I'd had more discipline as a young person, as a teenager and younger, and if I'd been sort of pushed more I'm not saying I should have been, because I ended up getting into languages and traveling, and all that's fantastic. And I've done other things and studied other things, and I've done a lot of interesting things with my life. But uh, getting more heavily into classical music, I think would have been might have appealed to me. But look, I love what I'm doing, so I can't complain at all.
I know you can't do it all. I mean, if I named all the things I'd like to be at, it'd be like a cat with 9 lives.
Yeah, yeah. The
And
thing
you
is, I think I associate, like, if I was going to be a classical musician, I don't think I would be a classical guitarist. I'm not madly into classical guitar. I think I'd be a piano player, And I
well,
always think if I got into jazz, I wouldn't be a guitarist either. I don't like jazz guitar. I'd play the sax or the trumpet or something. You know what I mean? But within flamenco, the guitar is
problem.
the guitar is it.
Yeah.
And it exploits incredibly well all the aspects of the guitar, I think, in a way that other genres don't quite, for me.
Yeah. And you play with Victor, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
And Steve, drums, and the little instrument that Victor plays is called
Victor plays charango. Excuse me, charango.
Tarango.
Yeah, he gets asked this every time we go out, and sometimes if he's not in form, and he's been asked it too many times, I have to take over the blurb, the kind of
I can imagine.
charango. It's a 10-string instrument from the Andes, and I give the spiel. We're going to get a handout to give to people, but it's a very nice little instrument.
I was at the Green Gather. I was playing at the Green Gathering Festival many years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Someone was in a field after the gigs. It was in the evening, and they were playing one of those, and I fell in love with it. I thought that it was just amazing, and I got them to write down the name of it for me. And I had this piece of paper in my purse for years. I must look into this, and I had this idea that our good mutual friend Ernie McMillan, the guitar, and he works with wood, so he's a luthier, that I was going to get him to make me one of these. Even if I didn't play it, just to look at it, along with a mountain dulcimer. I was going to get him, to get me one of those, because obviously Joni Mitchell had one of those for A Case of You, the song on the Blue Album 1971, and I was all over that. But yeah, the Django, that's right. And that's probably why I love it so much. There's something almost medieval about it. That could be totally the wrong word, but there just seems to be something medieval about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. And having Steve Davis on the drums with you for the Los Dramaticos gigs, I mean, that's special too, because even though he's predominantly, mostly known for jazz, he's a great rock drummer, and obviously he's playing with yous and so on. He can kind of lend himself to any sort of genre, really, can't he?
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's great. He joined us for most of our tour gigs. We did a tour with Los Dramaticos, myself and Victor, in the autumn. Grand World Tour of Northern Ireland, around the arts centres, and Steve joined us for most of those. And he's fantastic to work with. He's got such a groove. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to play with that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, in other news, you more recently you got married.
I did get married. I'm a late bloomer. Yeah, I got married about 2 years ago now. Is it something like that?
Oh, you better tell Zainab that it's exactly the date. Get it all worked out, so you'll be in the doghouse.
Yeah. No, it was September. Let me see. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. A year and a half. Yeah.
A year and a half. Okay. And the two of you are in lockdown together, not tearing each other's hairs out yet?
Look, it's surviving. We've got a big house.
Yes.
We've got a big house.
You're making it work.
We're getting on well.
And you make food. You are all into your food together, which is fantastic. So you're making away at breads, I see, and the petos.
I'm on sourdough and she's on chapatis.
Oh yes, I would love a chapati recipe. There's like the chapati flour, isn't it? So I would love that. And the senior breads and the sourdough, brilliant. And you got a sourdough starter and so on.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, it's so good. And I think I was indulging in some chocolate banana cookies last week, and you said to me online, oh, give me the recipe.
Oh,
Did you make them
yeah,
yet? No.
no. It's so tempting, but I have to stop myself, baking too much of those things because
Oh,
the
I
waistline will
know.
expand exponentially
I know.
like a curve.
I know. Jack just wanted. He said, "We need to use up those bananas," and I thought, oh, banoffee pie it has to be
Yeah.
used up. Oh, caramelized banana on pancakes, absolutely no problem at all. Oh, banana and chocolate cookies, not a bother. It was like permanent banana heaven.
Oh
Um,
man.
I know. So when you get to go out again, and when this is all not over, but when it starts to slacken to the point where we're allowed to be half sensibly social again, is there a particular restaurant that you'll go to on that day where you really don't want to be bothered cooking because you've cooked for 300 days in a row?
Mm-hmm. When I find restaurants I like, I basically only go to those restaurants.
Me too.
Because I maybe it's part of my mania of if it's not broken, why fix it?
Exactly, and then you get disappointed by going somewhere else. It's like going for an Indian. You always get the same thing because you just know you're going to get the best one.
Okay, so I'll give you three.
Yes. Oh, three. Okay.
I'll give you three. The Bow Tree.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's totally one of mine.
The Bow Tree, Falafel on Botanic,
Oh yes, amazing.
and Bites of India on the Ravenhill.
Bites of India. I don't know
Oh
that.
yes. Oh yeah, Bites of India.
Is that new?
It's been there for a while, but it's not the kind of area of Belfast you would automatically think about going to for a meal. But when you look through the window, you will see South Asian people eating South Asian food, which is a good sign. It's a good sign.
Always a good sign. No, I would say falafel's up there for me. It is so good, and their patatas bravas is just. Also, their falafel plates.
Oh yes.
So good. And Bow Tree, obviously, Thai green curry and spring rolls and mushroom curry and so on.
Correct.
Yes. I think Thai is my favorite of all. We actually made a Thai curry tonight for dinner and tried to replicate it, but it's never quite the same. And you always wonder what they're doing that's different from what you're doing. But
it's all those fresh spices that they've had flown in, big lumps of star anise and all kinds of things.
And I think that it helps that the owner is from here, but the chef, he's Thai.
Right. Okay.
They were married, you see.
Okay.
Married a Thai, I think. So you're getting really authentic food in the Bow Tree. It's just. Do you remember it used to be over on University Road?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost looked fine diney.
Mm-hmm.
Luxurious, whereas this is more Bow Tree kitchen, rough and ready, and I just prefer it. It sort of reflects and represents more kind of, you just pop in quickly and you're just boom, 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 served, it's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I'm so excited about going back there as well. Actually, it's probably one of my top ones. So one other thing I wanted to ask was meditation. You're into meditation as well, aren't you?
I am into meditation. Let's see. What can I say about meditation? It's very difficult to talk about something that's so experiential. It helps. It's something that helps me. I don't think it's a panacea for everybody.
No, but I had Frankie Liddy on the other day, and he's obviously a meditative guru, but he's coming at it from a very educated, pragmatic perspective. But the reason I'm asking you about this is because people are going stir crazy, and they maybe wanting to dabble in a bit of meditation and don't really know how to do it. And for someone like yourself who isn't, it's not something that you're hardcore about, but yet you definitely have done it in the past. Is there anything in particular that you would be recommending for people to do?
Life can be hard. Life can be a struggle, and everybody has to find their own way to help themselves. And I don't recommend meditation as a way to kind of closet yourself or wrap yourself in cotton wool. It's not really about making yourself feel better. I think if you use it to help yourself feel better, it's not going to last for very long.
That's really
Um,
interesting. Yeah. Okay. Go
and
on.
I come from meditation from within a Buddhist sort of framework. So it's not just meditation. There's a sort of there's a philosophical and an ethical framework which kind of ties it together. Um, I think meditation and mindfulness is basically just becoming more aware of yourself and what's happening around you. And sometimes
Exactly.
what's happening in ourselves and around it isn't nice,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes meditation can actually make you feel worse, uh, in the sense that it helps you really see what's happening. And if what's happening is not good, um, then you'll see that and feel that. But in some way, in feeling it and being close to it and being intimate with that bad stuff, um, helps you cope with it. And it also means that you can be intimate and aware of the good stuff in
Yeah.
life and
Yeah.
appreciate life in a deeper, more intimate way.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I I did some Japanese Buddhist dabbling meditation before as well, and I suppose a bit like yourself, it was like looking at zazen and kinhin, and working in the zendo space, which is the room for the meditation, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and having a tatami and a zafu, to sit on and that kind of thing. Um, and it's a beautiful experience, but it is quite difficult especially if it's not guided for a lot of people, because you know there's a lot of guided meditation out there for the likes of Jean Kabat-Zinn running through body scans and things like that, and they're obviously very good for people who need focus. But looking at it in the sense that what you're saying about you nearly are going through experiences that aren't necessarily nice, but going through them and going through the journey of all the experiences of emotions, including pain and discomfort, I suppose is literally how you're facing things. And I think that that's the opposite to what society is like now, in the sense it's for a lot of people pure avoidance. And avoidance I even mean on a subconscious level. I don't mean avoidance as in they're deliberately trying to avoid. It's just that we're all running around usually chasing our tails, and we're always very busy, and we're always dealing with like 100 contact juggle balls, and and in that you don't really get the time to stop. People say, oh, I haven't time to meditate. Oh, I can't stop my mind racing, and these kind of things. And I think that in lockdown it's really helped me be still, and because we really do have to be more still, and it's about taking something positive out of a really, really bad situation. Are you meditating much yourself at the minute?
I'm not doing a lot of sitting. I mean, I sit with a group that I'm in every Monday night. We've switched to Zoom, and I probably have a sit maybe another couple of times a week. But I don't view mindfulness or meditation just as sitting practice. Sometimes I'm just not on form to sit. Sittings can be very intense.
Yeah.
And sometimes what you need is to walk and be aware of your steps. Sometimes you need to run. Sometimes you need to see friends. Sometimes you need, I think part of this path of awareness is becoming more aware of what you need at certain points in your life, and what's going to be good for you and what's not going to be good for you, and making kind of creative choices about what's going to improve your well-being and the well-being of the people around you, because if your well-being is better, then your relationships are going to be better. So I've been taking a long walk every morning,
Okay.
getting up early, going along the towpath, out of town, crossing into Beaver and back around. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hour circuit.
Wow.
The weather's been so nice, that's really been nourishing me. I think it's finding nourishing activities. Sitting meditation can be fantastic, if your mind is very dispersed. Just sitting and focusing on your breath can be very healing. I think it's a question of trying different things. If you're most people know, I think, what activities nourish them. Is it listening to music at certain times? Is it cooking, as we've been talking about?
Yeah, massively meditative.
Is it, do you need to get on the phone and speak to a friend? Do you need to go for a walk? What can you do to help yourself? Maybe what you're doing isn't helping you, and you need to become more aware. Maybe you're watching 6 hours of high tension thriller on Netflix every day, and maybe you just by becoming more aware of yourself, maybe you think, oh Jesus, watching that isn't actually that good for me. I'm going to stop watching that, or I'm going to not watch anything for 2 hours before I go to bed, because I've noticed that my sleeping isn't as good when I do this. Or, you know what I mean? It's becoming more aware of your own body, your own mind, and working out what activities are beneficial and what activities aren't.
I know, and I know that everyone isn't in lockdown, because obviously there are key workers and there's different people with different situations and circumstances. So we very sort of generalized in order, to come up with that. But I do feel that, even just people who are always on the go, maybe standing still is a way to go. And for people who are always at a computer screen all day long, maybe they're the ones that are going to get better from the walking. It's just, I suppose it's all meditative in a way, because you're being more mindful of, as you say, of yourself, what you want, what you don't want, decisions, and so on. And, let's face it, when are we ever given, and I'm not saying that this situation's an opportunity, it's horrendous, but when do we ever be given an opportunity to actually take some time to reflect? Never, never really. I mean, I know we can, but in an enforced way, and trying to make something and take something out of it, because we could literally all be running around tearing our heads out, protesting in America because we were missing out on our hair appointment, but the reality is that we have to be sensible and just, do what needs to be done, for the betterment of society, in the sense that to just try and help work with this situation and not against it.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it's also learning something that certainly I wasn't, the culture of looking after yourself, to me, is something that's come quite relatively recently, and I think there's an idea still very prevalent that if you're looking after yourself in certain ways, that in some way you're being selfish or self-indulgent, But if you don't look after yourself, your family aren't going to be happy, your friends aren't going to be happy, and as an extension of that, society's not going to be happy if we don't all look after ourselves.
Exactly, but a lot of the time we don't, and then that's when there is a lot of fraught relationships and decisions and behaviours that come about from that. And that's why people are saying that there might be a shift in consciousness and behaviour with how we actually look at compassion, how we look at each other, how we look at ourselves. And it's I'm not saying that it's the path to enlightenment, at all, but it's definitely food for thought, no question about it. And just before we go, any chance you could play us another little quick song?
Go on then.
All right, good, because I'm sure people would like to hear something else. Any chance of adding a bit of vocal into that, Paddy, or is that too much?
Oh, I think at this point, tell you what, my sound here isn't great either, and if you don't mind, I'll just play something.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't mind, if that's okay.
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Can you see me more or less?
I can. Are you not doing any gigs online or anything? A lot of people are sort of doing some gigs online.
I took part in a community gig.
Brilliant.
Organised by Ballinafy Community Centre on the Ormeau, where I'm based. And with Victor in Los Dramaticos, we're planning on putting out a new piece of ours at some point in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. I'm
Sounds
going to
good.
record some guitar, send it to him. Victor's going to put on some charango on top of it, and we'll have a split screen, and we'll put it out on the website as our.
Wow, that's amazing. So you'll be playing remotely but together.
That's it.
Amazing. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll give you a bit of a noodle to say cheerio.
Yeah.
This is a flamenco piece in the style of Soleá. It's known as Soleá. It's kind of one of the sort of deeper, more profound styles within flamenco. And I'll just give you a short blast, okay?
Good stuff. Thank
See
you.
if my fingers do what they're supposed to, you know? Am I in tune? It'll do.
Sounds pretty good.
Okay. Will that do?
That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. And Paddy, as always, it's a delight chatting with you, whether it's on screen, on stage, or face to face. But for now, this will have to do.
Zoom will have to do.
It's brilliant, and thank you so much for being part of my In Search for Purpose podcast. And until next time, you stay safe and take care.
It's a great pleasure, Sal. You take care of yourself.
Thank
Keep
you.
baking.
Oh, I will. You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.